Question number 3, Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for ACC. When was the email she received between 12 March 2012 and 18 March 2012 from Michelle Bogue concerning Bronwyn Pullar and the involvement of both in a meeting over a mass privacy breach first printed by her or a staff member in her office?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr. Speaker, since this matter is before the Privacy Commissioner, it is not in the public interest for me to answer that.
Andrew Little. Order. Andrew Little.
Mr. Speaker, does she stand by her statement in an interview on Radio Live this morning, commencing at 8:22 a.m, that, quote, "I know exactly what has happened in terms of my office and myself," end quote?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
I stand by all my statements.
Andrew Little.
Mr. Speaker, in whose custody and control was the copy or copies of the email made in her office placed?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr. Speaker, that matter is before the Privacy Commissioner, and it is not in the public interest for me to answer that.
Andrew Little.
Supplementary.
Order. I want to hear Andrew Little's question.
Mr. Speaker, what instructions did she give to any staff in her office or any ACC staff member in relation to the Michelle Bogue email or any copy of it?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr. Speaker, since that matter is before the Privacy Commissioner, it is not in the public interest for me to answer that.
Supplementary.
Sorry, as a point of order, Dr. Russell Norman, point of order.
Mr. Speaker, on this issue, the Minister has been in the media discussing this issue, and now she's using a public interest defence in the House. How can you accept she can use a public interest defence here when she's in the media discussing this issue?
As I've said to the House before, it is not the Speaker's decision whether a matter is in the public interest or not, but as Speaker I would certainly intervene were I to see that such a claim was outrageous. But on this occasion the Minister has indicated that the matter is being inquired into by an independent authority, the Privacy Commissioner, and it's not uncommon for ministers to declare such questions when they're questioned on matters that are being examined by an independent authority, that it's not in the public interest to answer them. And so it's not, in my view, outrageous for the Minister to be making that claim. It seems reasonable given the fact that an independent authority is conducting an investigation. Point of order, the Honourable David Parker.
Mr. Speaker, can I ask you to reflect upon an earlier series of difficult questions for a government, which was questions by the then Honourable, still Honourable, Lockwood Smith in respect of Taito Phillip Field. And there were inquiries in respect of Taito Phillip Field that were underway, and yet the government was still required to ask questions about their conduct where they had answer questions in respect of their conduct where they had ministerial responsibility. And I suggest to you, sir, that shows that we can't just have ministers avoiding answering questions by claiming a public interest when patently it's a matter of ministerial responsibility.
I'd be very happy to look back over those, over that Hansard, and if I could refresh the member's memory somewhat, the bulk of those questions all occurred after the publication of the was it the Ingram report, if I remember correctly, and questions prior to that time were usually met with an answer that there was an inquiry underway. And so I think it's it's pretty standard practice that what I would make, I think, clear to the House, because this order, I am on my feet. I mean, this is a serious issue, and were the inquiry to be an internal inquiry by the government, I think that would be a different matter. That would be a different matter. But where we have an independent authority conducting an inquiry or an investigation, that can be compromised by the matter being questioned in this House, and I think that's not in our interests. And I make that distinction. Were it to be simply an internal government inquiry, I think the matter would be different. But this is an independent authority. The Right Honourable Winston Peters, is this point of order or something?
It's a point of order.
Point of order. The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
This is an inquiry being conducted by the Privacy Commissioner. It's not a Commission of Inquiry. It's not a judicial inquiry. She has raised no issues of there being a sub judice prevention rule preventing her answering the question. It's not a matter of law. It's a matter of evidence. When was that email reproduced is what she's being asked. And to get up and fob the House off by saying it's not in the public interest is a decision that you've got to make, not her. She's the Minister. She's being held accountable. If it's a matter of public interest or not, it's overstood for you to make, and my submission is I would like to hear from her why she thinks, based on the law, or Speaker's rulings,
The member's gone on
defence.
far enough now. Member's been here long enough to know the Speaker does not, according to the traditions of this House, decide whether matters are in the public interest or not. That is a decision of ministers, and the member knows that full well. As I've said before, I'm prepared to depart from the tradition if I were to see a situation that was clearly outrageous. However, the Privacy Commissioner has very significant powers of inquiry, and it is an independent authority set up by statute. The Privacy Commissioner operates under statute, and it is therefore, I think, not unreasonable for a minister to claim that is not in the public interest, given an inquiry by such an independent authority is underway, that it's not in the public interest to answer detailed questions on the matter. And that is my ruling on the matter. If the member wants a ruling from the Speaker, that is my ruling. The point of order, the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Can I seek your clarification? You mentioned that if you saw an instance, I think the word you used was outrageous or outrageous conduct. Can I just ask you in terms of definition, so are you saying that if a minister was to wax eloquent in the media about an issue and then come into this House and claim public interest to shut it down, that you would look at that issue? Is that, I just seek your clarification on that.
No, what I make, by way of clarification, what I might want to make clear is where a minister claims that it's not in the public interest to answer a question and clearly the claim has no merit at all, that it's not in the public interest. I mean, here we have an inquiry being conducted by a statutory authority, and it's not unreasonable, in my view, for a minister to claim it's not in the public interest to answer detailed questions, just as a minister not long ago asserted in the House here quite reasonably it was not in the public interest to answer detailed questions about the Pike River tragedy while that was under investigation. But were a minister to claim it's not in the public interest, and I'll be watching this issue, I'll be watching the issue quite carefully, and I will be taking advice on the matter because it has cropped up in recent days more than once, and I accept that I accept the concern of opposition members that it's unacceptable for ministers to use the claim of it's not in the public interest if it's genuinely not in the public interest. But on this occasion, I believe that is not unreasonable for the minister to have made. It is a reasonable claim by the minister to make that is not in the public interest, given the independent authority conducting the inquiry. Our first call was Grant Robertson.
To the Minister, did she make the comments on Radio Live this morning that the member mentioned in an earlier supplementary question after the inquiry of the Privacy Commissioner was announced? And if so, why are those comments not able to be made and ones in the House not able to be made because of the public interest?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Speaker, because they're quite different, and also the Privacy Commissioners emailed me today and advised me of the extent of her inquiry.
The point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Minister if in fact she has that with her. I have an email which she sent to me.
Order. The member will assume his seat immediately. That was totally outside the standing orders of the House. Not a point of order at all. I don't know what rush of blood caused that. And there will be no repeat of that. Supplementary question, Andrew Little. Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard, since I have admonished him, I'll...
Speaker, I seek leave to table an email to Judith Collins and myself from the Privacy Commissioner this morning.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Dr. Russell Norman, is this a point of order?
It is, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we accept that the Privacy Commissioner's announcement was yesterday of the investigation, and that's what the tabling was about, to establish that, and then the Minister went on radio and talked about exactly this issue, she cannot come into the House and claim a public interest defence without, I believe, you should label that outrageous. I think that does step over the boundary of outrageous, where the Minister spoke about this issue after the announcement of the inquiry on radio this morning and then claims public interest. How can it be that to speak about this topic on radio is in the public interest, but not to speak about it in this House?
To me, the difference that we've seen in the House today was there was a question relating to the Minister's comments on radio this morning. The Minister answered that question. It was other matters that the Minister has asserted it's not in the public interest to answer. But I recollect a question from Andrew Little about whether the Minister stood by her comments on a radio program this morning. The Minister answered that question. And so I have not seen anything outrageous so far, and I assure members I watch this issue carefully because I accept the concern. I accept the concern that it's not acceptable for a minister to assert that it's not in the public interest to answer just to avoid being held to account. That would not be acceptable. And now speakers have to be careful because they're normally guided by ministers on their judgment. But I'm prepared as Speaker, if I see something that is to me outrageous in that regard, I'd overrule a minister if I saw that to be the case. Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
I ask the Minister, what is it about the date of the reprint of the email referred to in the primary question that is not in the public interest, and yet her comments to the public via the media is apparently in the public interest?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr. Speaker, that matter goes to the heart of the Privacy Commissioner's inquiry.
And Andrew Little.
Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
What goes to the heart of the Privacy Commission's inquiry? I asked her a question about why she's giving that answer.
Order. Indeed, the member asked this question. He's just trying to ask it again by way of point of order. The Minister answered it. I accept the member's not particularly satisfied with the answer, but that's the answer, and the member cannot relitigate it, cannot ask his question again by way of point of order. I'll hear the member further on the matter.
I am not asking my question again at all. But surely the answer, that goes to the heart of the inquiry, surely begs the conclusion that there's got to be more than that, because I'm asking about the issue of public interest. And she's not answering that at all. Maybe the Privacy Commissioner is. I don't know that. But I did not ask her what's going to the heart of the Privacy Commission's inquiry. I'm asking her what about these two different occasions in this House and this morning on radio is different.
Point of order, the Honourable Judith Collins.
The member asked for my opinion. I've given it.
It is order. The House has come to order. It is not outrageous for a minister. The minister raises a fair point that she was asked what is the difference, which is seeking her opinion on a matter, and she gave her opinion, and that is an answer to that question. And there's nothing I can do about that. Andrew Little, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What inquiries has she made about how the email, or a copy of it, made it into the hands of the media, including social media?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr. Speaker, that matter is a matter for the Privacy Commissioner, and it goes to the heart of the inquiry.
Point of order, Dr. Russell Norman.
That was a question
order.
about
I want to hear this point of order.
That was a question about what inquiries she had made. It was not about what the Privacy Commissioner was up to. It was about her responsibilities as a minister. It was about what inquiries she had made. I would also draw your attention to Speaker's ruling 173.1, which says that a minister must answer a question if it can be given consistently with the public interest. That was Speaker Wilson's ruling. Now, if an answer can be given consistent with the public interest, the minister must give it. This was about her inquiry. She has a responsibility for that.
What I'll do, because I want to make sure that everyone has a fair opportunity to pursue a serious matter like this, I'll let the member repeat his question so that everyone can hear exactly what he is asking. Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What inquiries has she made about how the email, or a copy of it, made it into the hands of the media, including social media?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, Mr. Speaker, since the Privacy Commissioner is looking into how this email document ended up in the media, I think this goes to the heart of the Privacy Commissioner's inquiry, and I don't believe it is in the public interest for me to answer that.
Point of order, Andrew Little. Order. Order.
Mr. Speaker, the question was about the actions of the Minister and the inquiries she made. It is not the responsibility of the Privacy Commissioner is whether or not a complaining individual's privacy was breached. It has nothing to do with the actions that this Minister has taken, with a publicly acknowledged action she has taken in copying this email.
Clearly, the Privacy Commissioner's investigation will investigate the actions of the Minister. I mean, that is... I've got to be careful, I'm presuming, but it would be extraordinary if the investigation by the Privacy Commissioner didn't investigate the actions of the Minister. And therefore, again, it's not unreasonable for the Minister to claim that to talk about her actions while that investigation is underway is not in the public interest. I'm concerned that I do not want to see this an argument of not in the public interest used to block this House's ability to hold members of the Executive to account. But at the same time, I think where we do have an independent inquiry by a statutory authority, I do have to respect that assertion of it not being in the public interest to comment while that inquiry is underway. Once that report is out, members will have a lot of opportunity to ask questions, and questions can be just as effective. One of the member's colleagues referred to the Ingram report. Most of the questioning happened after that report came out. It was pretty effective. Charles Chauvel, is this a supplementary question?
Yes, sir.
Supplementary question, Charles Chauvel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister. To which Minister does the Privacy Commissioner report, and to whom is she accountable? And how can this Minister possibly expect the House to believe or accept that the Privacy Commissioner can conduct an independent inquiry into her own Minister's actions?
The Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Privacy Commissioner reports and is responsible to the Minister of Justice, and she has independence under the Privacy Commissioners Act. That is an extraordinary statement and comment by that member that the Privacy Commissioner can't be independent. I have to say that is one of the most extraordinary, and I suggest he might want to apologise to the Commissioner.
Question number 4, Gareth Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My